Welcome to the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living podcast, where high-achieving, goal-oriented rebel women come to learn how to live a vibrant and fulfilling life without requiring alcohol to get through it. No labels, no judgments, no saying you'll never drink again. Just real proven methods to help you stop rebelling against yourself with alcohol so you can drink less and do more. I'm your host, Angela Mascenik. Let's dig in. Welcome to episode 208. How the fuck did I get here with client Deidre Hudson? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the last podcast of 2022. Woohoo! I am super pumped because I just ended the interview with the amazing Deidre Hudson. Deidre has been a client of mine since very early times in the group coaching program. And she just released her first ebook, and it's called How the Fuck Did I Get Here? And it's a really easy read. It's linked up in the show notes where you can go get it and download it on your Kindle through Amazon. But Deidre has come so far, and she's just an example of what is possible when you get clear on what's happening internally in your mind and your emotional state, and you do the work to make some changes in your life and stop escaping with alcohol and stop numbing on Netflix and say yes to your life. And I really want you to feel this possibility when you listen to this episode with Deidre. She shares a lot of what she did to lead to her where she is today with the work inside the program and her big takeaways and, you know, how she applied what I teach about learning how to manage your mind. And it's just a great example of what is possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Deidre. I'm so excited to see you live into your limitless possibility next year for 2023, and it's just the beginning for you. Enjoy the episode. Oh my gosh, Deidre, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast today. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yay. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. It's always exciting talking with you, so I'm really happy to be here.
So I was just talking with Deidre before we hit record. And one of the things that really inspired me to have Deidre on the podcast was she just released this and wrote this amazing book called How the Fuck Did I Get Here? And I think that's a really good question because a lot of people kind of wake up or just like all of a sudden they kind of step out of their fog in our middle-aged life, right? They've had the kids, the career, this, you know, the relationships, the house, all that kind of stuff. And then they're like, wait, what am I doing? Like, what's going on? Or they find themselves over drinking a lot or numbing or escaping or just maybe they just noticed that like they haven't had any positive momentum lately, right? Or they just had like kind of reached this epitome of what they thought was success and then they flatline, right? And so then many years go by, like decades go by sometimes. And they're like, wait, what am I doing? Right? Like, how did I get here? Like, how did I find myself in all these bad habits and numbing and escaping and buffering and, you know, not happy in my relationships or stagnant in my job, right? So I think that's a really awesome title because it's like, wait, what happened? Let's go rewind and look at this, right? And I think that's what your little book did. We will link up Deidre's amazing book. It's available on Kindle right now on Amazon. We will link that up in the show notes. So please go check it out. It's a really easy read, but it's super inspiring. And I hope that this podcast today with Deidre helps you see what is possible. So Deidre, why don't you just kind of give them a little bit of background about yourself and how you found me? And that was like 2.5 years ago, right?
That's it. Just 2.5 years. I feel like you've been my friend for like forever. So, but yes, I think it was about 2.5 years ago. So I actually found you. My best friend sent me a link to your podcast. I had been just complaining, I think, for a long time of like, what am I doing? What's going on? And just having this, just, you know, that low level hum of depression, you know, just not wanting to get out of bed in the morning and dreading going to work and just not finding joy in anything. And I was, you know, just numbing. I was, you know, having the extra glass of wine and, you know, spending too much time on Netflix and, you know, not really getting out and enjoying myself. So my best friend had sent me a link to your podcast. And I remember that when I watched you had a webinar, like you were doing a free webinar. And when you were talking about how our thoughts control our feelings, and our feelings control our actions, and our actions lead to our results. And that we actually had the power to change things. We had the power to do things. I was blown away. I was like, what? What? You mean I'm not just kind of, just kind of drawn to things. I'm not being pulled through life by a string through my belly button. I don't have to have the extra glass of wine. I don't have to sit and watch Netflix all the time. I actually get to decide. I was like, holy shit, really?
Wow.
So I remember that webinar, I was like, I couldn't write notes fast enough. It was like revolutionary shit to me. And then I remember that you and I had a call. We had the intro call, and it was in January of 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And we had the call, and I was like, okay, that sounds good, but I don't know if it's really for me. Mm-hmm. And then it took me about 6 months, and then I called you back, and I signed in the program of July of, what was that, 2020 or I think it was 2020. And the stuff that I've learned it's just been unbelievable. It's just been incredible. I mean, the tools, the support, the power, that I was able to reclaim for myself was just unbelievable.
I've loved, well, thank you for sharing that, by the way. And I never know like what things I say land with people, but I love that that's exactly what it was like for me. When I learned that I was the one in control, and yes, like it wasn't my boss's fault or my kids or my husband's or anything outside of me for how I felt, I was like, what?
Yes.
Like I was like, what are you saying? Like I can change the way I think.
Right.
At 40, I was like, what? Like I just thought that I literally thought my thoughts were the truth, that I was right.
Yes.
Like you should empty the dishwasher after every, before you can sit down and relax at the end of the night. Right. Like I believe that to be true, like a fact.
Yes. Oh. Yes. And that was part of it. It was like, I thought that I didn't even think about the thoughts that came in my head. It was just, shit came in my head, and I was like, okay, it's in my head. It must be, I never even challenged it. I didn't even want to challenge it.
Right. Yeah. So I think I had probably the same reaction when I learned that, and I was like, damn. And it just kind of like it all kind of made sense very quickly. I don't know if you definitely dug in and started applying those thought models and, getting so much awareness around your mind. Like you tell them about the little tools that you created for yourself, like your thought journal and stuff.
Oh, you remember that? Oh. I remember on one of our calls, this was early on when we first started working together. You said something to me about being a good student. And I was like, yeah, I always like to be a good student. But so one of the things that, because this information was coming to me, like, it was like breakthrough after breakthrough. It felt like it was like pow, pow, pow. And once I really started to get, really took hold of this idea that I didn't have to believe every little thought that came in my head. I had the power to control them. I had the power to change them. Then I started seeing patterns, and I started seeing how I would think certain thoughts and it would lead to the same action, the same results. So then I started to think, well, if I'm going to keep thinking these thoughts over again, why don't I keep track of them so that when they come up, I'm prepared and I know, what to do with them. So I started this thing. It was kind of I don't know, like a joke, maybe in our group or something, but I started this book I called it my Journal of Repetitive Thoughts. Uh-huh. And in this journal, I just started writing down, and I categorized them by topic. So I categorized them by anger, depression, or fear, or whatever. I started writing down these thoughts that I would have. And then when I was feeling those feelings again at a different time, I could go back to this book and consult those thoughts. And I could say, oh, okay, you're thinking this. Now, if you keep on thinking that, this is what the result is going to be. So now I was able to catch those thoughts in progress and switch them out with something that worked for me better. A lot of what you talk about is, you say a lot that, if that thought is not working for you, then find another thought. Yeah. And it was only by, seeing this kind of written down, like, yeah, I do think this thought frequently. And then going through the model, and I could see how those thoughts were creating the results that I didn't want. And then I was able to start changing them.
It's huge, right? The awareness piece. I love you're such a creative person. Like I love that you did this and it did. Like you we talk about the OVIPs were the original VIPs. So audience, if you don't know what that is, and shout out to all the OVIPs that are listening. I'm sure they're all like cheering you on right now. But so like the first 6 month coaching program, and then you can sign up to me to be after you go through a first 6 months, then you can sign up to be a VIP. And Deidre did that. She was the first group of VIPs that I had in my group coaching program. And the bond that, you and those original women all, I just want to cry thinking about it. It was so
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
We've all got to meet in person. It's so fun. A couple times we've been on some
Yes.
wild pictures together. Oh my God. But yeah, like we were all just kind of like, that was so cool for you. Cause like it is like the awareness is so important in changing anything, right? Like a lot, that's why I think like, just doing a dry January or just doing a challenge or just following a diet, right, doesn't really work because it doesn't help you get to the root. And like what you're talking about here is
Right.
the root of some of this stuff. Like, why am I wanting to watch a lot of Netflix and not write that book? Why am I wanting to pour that extra glass of wine, when I'm good after two, right? Like,
Right.
and so it helps you see why you're doing that and then bring awareness to yourself so you can be conscious. You talk about this in
Right.
the book, right? Once we're conscious of our mind and kind of see where these thoughts lead us, then we can change them. Right. And then
Right.
we can make decisions and find that power within ourselves to change the way we're thinking, or just pausing and learning how to process that before we get to the plan part of it, the diet part of it, or the dry January part of it, or changing the behavior part of it. Right. But you have to be willing to be conscious of our mind. Right. And I think this little tool that you developed for yourself to show you those repetitive thought patterns was really impactful.
Yeah, it really was. And, I would carry it with me and, I had colored tabs on it and everything. And I just, would add to it as we went along. But what you said about power, it's so important because I remember like in one of our first sessions, I was saying that I wanted to feel in control. I didn't feel in control of my life. And I didn't know how to get there. It seemed like something that was elusive to me, but kind of right there. But I just didn't have like the key to unlock the door or the magic phrase to, make the wall crumble down. And it was in going through the work and just really seeing that I'm creating these stories in my head and I'm reacting from those stories. Like one of the things I talk about in the book, I related it to if you know Naughty by Nature, OPP, I call it
Yes.
OPT. So I said, being down with OPP in your 20s is fine, but OPT in your 30s and your 40s, not so good. And but having the tools from you, I was able to list out and to actually see on paper how I was thinking what other people were thinking about me and how that translated into how I responded and how, I carried myself in my life. And the truth is, I don't know what other people are thinking. I have no fucking idea. Right.
Right.
But I don't need to know what they're thinking. It's about what am I thinking? So if I'm thinking
Getting
that
chills after chills after chills. Like, it's just like a constant chill talking to you right now. It's so awesome.
But that was that's one of the things is like these stories we tell ourselves in our head and then we kind of live our life in those stories. And then, you end up one day, in a shrink's office saying, how the fuck did I get here?
Right. Like I think what you're talking about other people's thoughts, like you were spending, and you are not like special in this. So many people spend so much of their brain space thinking about what other people might be thinking about, right? At work,
Right.
in our relationships, our kids, our families, right? Our parents,
Right.
we spend so much time telling assuming other people are thinking this because this is what they're doing, right? Or
Right.
not.
Right.
And really that
Right.
just takes the focus off of ourselves and puts it on them when we could
Right.
spend so much more time thinking about what we're thinking about and how that is creating results in our own lives, right?
Right. Exactly. And then part of that too is that you have to ask yourself in all this numbing and buffering and trying to think or try to figure out what the people are thinking. like you said, it takes the focus off you, but then you have to ask yourself, why? Why do I want to take this focus off myself so much? I say I want these things in life, but am I afraid to go get them? Am I afraid to actually put the work in to do it? Is there something else that's stopping me? So all these things create these barriers to you actually doing the things you want and living the life you want. And you need to be able to see them and then to break them down. And listen, this is not easy work. This is work that's like, you really got to sit with being uncomfortable, as you say a lot, and really get to see yourself, see
Yeah.
like all the parts of yourself. And but it's worth it. It is so worth it. I
Mm.
feel like I have like just, the fog is lifted, the cloud is gone. I don't dread getting out of bed in the morning. I go to bed at a good decent hour. There's no numbing and buffering and hangovers and all this other stuff. It's just like, this is just me. And when I do stuff, when I see that I can do stuff, it makes me want to do other things
Yeah.
and do more things. So that's like been incredible.
That's awesome. I think that thank you for sharing that because it's not easy, right? And we have setbacks and we have our patterns, right? The human condition is like one of patterns and wanting to do repetitive things because that's how we stay safe, right? Like it's easy
Right.
for us to be programmed in a way that we take the same action, have the same thoughts, right? The same patterns over and over again because that's familiar and the human brain doesn't like unknowns, right? So
Right.
when we start to make changes, our brain gets kind of freaked out by that. And it's like sometimes we self-sabotage or we go backwards, right? And you
Right.
are no different. Like everybody experiences that when they're willing to dig into this work. But your consistency and still showing up and seeing your patterns, right? And like I feel like that for me, when I do that, it's like I know myself. And so when I
Right.
find myself in a really uncomfortable position or emotion or something unexpected has happened, I can tune in to myself and be like, okay, this is familiar, right? This is
Yes.
what I do typically when things go south or something bad happens. I know myself and I'm like,
Right.
I'm not judging myself. I'm like, this is just part of my pattern, right?
Right.
This is just part of me and it's okay. And I'm able to stop that, right? And like recognize, okay, I still have power here. I still have my own decisions that I can make from this place, even though it feels very familiar and very uncomfortable, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that is not something like a lot of people don't want to do that because in this process, you do have to look at shit. I mean, you do have to
Yes.
be you have to be a little bit brave to like kind of like you're going to see some uncomfortable patterns for yourself and maybe in your past or in your relationships and stuff like that. But if you can be a little bit brave and take that step to do that, then you get this knowing and trust with yourself. And then you're able to break these old patterns that you have, right? And become more
Yes.
empowered. And it feels good to know yourself, don't you think?
It feels amazing because I remember I was in Miami at the beginning of the year for work, and I was sitting out by the water and I felt so peaceful. And it was a peace that came from within. It wasn't from me, doing anything external or talking to someone. It was a peace that came from within. And a lot of what you were saying is it's like there's so much in there to unpack. So compassion for yourself. That was one thing that was a really big breakthrough, because we think when we mess up that we've got to, tell ourselves, oh, you're so, how could you do this? You're so this, you're so that. But in doing that, all you do is continue to break yourself down internally. And that
Mhm.
doesn't help you. That doesn't help you to move forward. When you think about how you feel after that, what do you want to do after you've said that to yourself? You may want to go numb or hide,
Escape.
or
Yeah.
exactly, you want to
Yeah.
escape that because it feels bad. And a lot of what I've learned is that it's okay if you feel good, because when you feel good, then you do good. You do good things. I started telling myself, when I have we keep journals in the program, and it's just, I think, just a good practice. I started telling myself, I'm so proud of you. Look at what you did. You
Mhm.
did such a great thing. That was so good what you did. And then when I do that for myself, I don't need anyone else to tell me. I don't need anyone else to validate me, because I can validate myself. I've learned how to validate myself. And then something else that I've learned too is just about, talk about power a lot, and being in the present. One of the patterns I realized I had was just kind of getting past this, like, okay, let's just get past this and we'll get on to the next thing. And you know, I talk about being in the land of might as well, I call it, because that was kind of a big thing for me at one point. Oh, you might as well, right? You've been doing it so long, you might as well. You've been there so long, you
Yes.
might as well. But
Yes.
it's like in trying to escape the present to get to that next thing, you miss what's happening now, which can lead you to a worse next thing. So you really have to, I mean, we talk about being in the present a lot, but there's so much power in being in the present because it's only in the present that you have the power to affect what's going to happen later on. So all these things have just been, floating around in my head, and then they just all started to make sense.
Yeah. And like you actually applied this stuff, right? So like I talk about
Yes.
that too, that whole present thing. It's like your ability to see the changes that you want happen today. They don't happen on January 1st. They don't happen on Monday. They don't happen tomorrow. They happen
Yes.
when you're in the struggle of it right now, right?
Yes.
I'm very
Yes.
animated. You guys are hearing this on the
Yeah.
podcast, but I'm like waving my hands. I'm like,
I
right
know.
now. But because that's when you are driven to take action, is in the moment that you're faced with, right? Because you have a feeling and it's going to either go into your old patterns or you have an opportunity to stop and break that and start a new pattern, right?
Right.
Our brain wants to put that off because that's uncomfortable, right? It wants
Yes.
to just go to its normal pattern. And our brain wants to be like, oh, it doesn't matter, right? One more won't hurt. This scroll won't matter.
Right.
I'll have that difficult conversation next week when it's easier and things aren't, you know what I mean? It will
Yes.
always want to delay because for some reason, we're programmed to think it'll be easier if we just delay. But
Right.
that's not true because what you're also delaying is the growth that you want,
Right.
right? So it's like, it's
The
either you do it
present.
right now in this moment when
Yes.
you're faced with that
Right.
urge, faced with honoring your dream plan, whatever it is that you want to do, and
Yes.
saying yes to that discomfort right now, because that's really all the opportunity that we have. And the more you do that in real time, the more growth you have in the future, right?
Yes. Yes. The present is where the power is. You can't
Yeah.
change what happened. You don't know what's going to happen in the future, but the present is where your power is. And
Yeah.
that's something that I was looking for a while. I was, just feeling out of control. And yeah, so this has been an amazing journey. And I'm not done yet.
You are just getting started,
Getting
clearly.
started.
You're just literally like, we're going to talk about this in a moment, but I want to talk to you now about like you're feeling, sort of like down when you first joined the program. You're sharing with your friend, like, oh God, I just feel like I'm off, like I just can't, I'm not happy, like all this stuff. So how would you describe your emotional state back then in like general terms?
Um, it was it was dread. It
Mm.
was depression. It was, this, I call it this low level hum, and it's just like this, it's this low level hum of sadness. It's not like you're crying every day, but there's no joy, there's no excitement, there's no magic, one of your favorite words.
Mhm.
There's no, I didn't feel any, I just didn't feel like any desire and like anything was possible. It felt like this is my life, and I, it is what it is. I can't change it.
Mhm.
And I didn't like it. I mean, from the outside, it looked good, but living it every day and just having this dread is just the word that keeps coming up for me. I just felt this dread all the time. Dread getting out of bed, going to work, dread coming home, dread fixing dinner, dread for the weekend, and dread for
Mhm.
on Sundays, waiting for Monday. It was just everything was just dread. And I couldn't snap out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So through this awareness, through the program, but like kind of learning how your thoughts and having control of that and connecting with yourself and processing your feelings, like fast forward, 2.5 years later, like how would you sort of generally describe your emotional state now?
My emotional state now is it feels, I'm just gonna, because I'm very visual, so it feels
Yeah.
light and fluffy,
Mhm.
but it also feels more directed and more steady. And I feel like I'm steering the ship now. I don't feel like I'm being led or I'm being told or I'm being drawn. I feel like I'm actually steering the ship. I had I've made some major changes in my life. I'm leaving a, decades old relationship.
Mm.
Um, and that's been a difficult decision, but I realized that, along this idea of change, if I don't make the change is not going to happen. And then I'll just kind of be stuck in this, in this place I don't want to be stuck in. And
Mhm.
after doing that, I was like, this book that I've been thinking about for the past 4 years off and on, I decided last week, I'm going to publish this book before the year is over. And I got
Wow.
it out. Yes.
Wow. And I read said book today. I was floored. So like Deidre posted we have a private Facebook group inside the coaching program. She posted the link to the book and like made this amazing dedication. And I was just like, holy shit. And so I went and like get my kid's Kindle and like downloaded this thing and like read it. And I was like, oh my God. And then I asked her, I'm like, so how long did that? I'm like, so you told me that you'd been thinking about writing it for 3 or 4 years. And I said, well, when did you actually like decide that you were going to do it? And you're like, last week. And I'm like, what? But like that, even though you've been at this work for a while, like you've been out of the program for a few months anyway, right? Like, so it's not like you've
Mhm.
been constantly in the program this whole time, but you have put in so much work to get that result in a short amount of time. So I don't want it to seem like, oh, you just, do this and then poof, you can write a book. Like you have invested a lot of time and into therapy, into coaching, into your own personal development to get to the
Yes.
place where you can just like, I'm going to go write a book and it's done in a week. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I had written the book. So I wrote the book about, a few years ago, but I never did anything with it. It was just one of those things in the back of my mind. Oh, I want to get this out. I want to
Mhm.
put this out there. And it was always, something else got in the way, or rather, maybe phrase that. I would let other stuff get in the way and I
Yeah.
didn't like focus and then I just, after I decided to leave that relationship, it just started the momentum for me. I was like, okay, what else can I do? I'm going to publish my book and I'm going to publish it before the year is over. And that's
Amazing.
what I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just, it's amazing. It's amazing. Your mind is such an incredible tool. And when you learn how to make it work for you, and that was something else that came up, your mind has to work for you, not the other way around, right?
Ooh,
Then there's so much of what you can accomplish.
yes. Yeah. It's like, it's
So
a tool, right? That we have. And if we
yeah,
don't manage it, it will definitely try to run us. And it does. Like there's just so many people running around with unmanaged minds, and you can tell by looking at their lives, right?
right,
Anybody that's over drinking, overspending, like any sort of like bad habit that people have, it's because of this. And I'm pointing to
right.
my, can't see me, but I'm pointing to my mind, right? Your mind is the most powerful thing, and learning how to manage your mind can dramatically change your life, right? Like
Yes,
look at where you are now in this
yes,
last month of 2022 and like what you've
right.
accomplished just in this one month, right? Like
Yep,
coming to the decision to leave this relationship, we had been working on that for a long time. Do I stay? Do I leave? Do I stay? Do I leave? Right?
yep,
And finally you just got up, like you just realized through looking at your own thoughts and like tracking things, like this isn't what you deserve and like you want something better and bigger, right?
right. It just, it's like anything else that you have to make a decision. Is this working for me? Is
Yeah.
this helping me to create the life that I want? I think part of it too, and like you said, I've done a lot of work. I've been working with a therapist. I started asking for help, and this is one of a big thing too for me because I'd always been kind of a proud person. I didn't really ask for help. I would give it, but I wouldn't ask for it.
Mhm.
And one of the things that was just becoming really evident to me is that I deserve to have a life that I want. I deserve to have a happy and fulfilling life. And if there's things in my life that's not contributing to that, whether it's thoughts or numbing exercises or people, then I have a right to say, you know what? No, I don't want this. This is not
Yeah.
working for me. So so yeah, I think I lost my train of thought. I think we were on to something really good there. Like that's what it was.
No,
Just like
I think
saying no.
we started recognizing. So this, I think, will help us get back. So you know what my mantra was for 2022? I think I've probably shared it with the group many times or somewhere, but it's like I give time and space and energy for people and things that support and love me, and less time and space for people and things that don't. So
Right.
that's my
Yes.
filter, right? Your filter sounds
Yeah.
like, is this good for me? Is this supporting me? Right? Do I want
Yes.
this? Right?
Yes.
That's my filter. So anything falls under that. People, activities that I do, food, drinking, relationships, all of that, right? So if I'm
Right.
coming up against a wall on something, or I find myself not easily able to make a decision on something, I'm like, okay, does this support and love me? If the answer is no,
Yes.
I give it less time, right? So that's kind of, it's
Yes.
not like this hard boundary for myself, or like it's not like I'm cutting things out completely, but it's just like, okay, this doesn't feel loving and supportive and good for me. And so it
Right.
gets less of my time and energy.
Right. Right. Exactly. And I would have I started developing the same thing, but I call it my North Star. And
Yeah.
I would start filtering things against that. Like, it's exactly the same thing. Is this helping me reach my goals? I had like a bunch of like 5 or 6 things that I wanted to accomplish. And I just started asking, is this helping me reach my goal? Is this helping me reach my goal? And then, when we were talking about shit, we were talking about the might as well, I think. If
Mm-hmm.
I even kind of veer towards that, I'm like, nope, nope, it's not might as well. Is this helping me
Right.
reach my goal? Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so
So you kind of just got awareness of that and like started asking in this specifically and getting back to like the relationship and kind of like where you came to finally on making a decision about what you wanted to do is being aware of all the times it wasn't really good for you.
yeah. And just looking
Listening
at
to
kind of
that.
right, listening to that and listening. And
Yeah.
that was part of my journey too, because one of the things I talk about in the book is like one of my lessons is just learning to accept your gifts, recognizing and accepting your gifts. And I think that I have a pretty high emotional intelligence, like when it comes to other people, and I have a pretty good intuition. And when I don't listen to those or when I don't honor those things, then it takes me down the wrong path. And what I had to learn was it's okay. First of all, it's okay that you have those things. Everyone has something that's special about them. It's okay that you have that. And it's okay to listen to that. And when you start filtering again against the North Star, is this working for me? Is this working for me? What is my intuition saying? What is, what's coming from inside? And all these things are saying, no, it's not working. It's not good for you. It's not helping you reach your goals. Then I now have the power and the ability to say no to things.
Yeah.
I haven't. I have a younger sister, and I haven't spoken with her in like over a year. And one of the things that we also learned in talking with you was like, it's okay for people to be wrong about me. So it's okay, whatever it is she may be thinking, it's okay. And it's okay if leaving this relationship is maybe causing some bad feelings for someone. It's okay. They can be wrong about me. It's okay. So
Yes. But like I think denying ourselves is why a lot of people overdrink or numb or escape in some ways, right? Or do all these other
yeah,
things that avoid, the true thing that they want to experience in their life, right? The other people's
right.
thinking, right? Like worrying about that, drinking, overeating, all these types of stuff, right? That is just really a buffer because we're scared of like saying yes to ourselves, right? Because when you
Yes.
said yes to yourself and decided to end this relationship, that is coming like we're not trying to paint a fluffy picture here. Like that's a painful thing to go through, right?
Right. Right.
That's
It
what
is.
that's what we try to avoid when we deny our true wants and needs, right? It's because we don't
Right.
want to experience the pain of the growth that's going to be associated with that. But now
Right.
you know how to do that, right? You trust yourself more, you know how to
Yeah.
handle your emotions, you know how to manage your mind. And so you have that kind of tool set with you to get through this in the best way possible.
Right. And that trusting yourself has been so key because I can look back on situations and where I've said no to things and where I've said, okay, this is not helping me meet my goal. And other times where I've said, okay, I'm going to do this, and I did it. And, the validating of myself and, just allowing myself to be who I am and without punishing myself for that and being accepting of it. All that helps me to create a relationship with myself of trust And through that relationship of trust with myself, I know that I have what I need to get me through those difficult situations. If I had to, like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day and we were just talking about this whole thing. And I was like, you know what? I don't want any more advice. I'm good. I have to learn to start trusting myself in, with what's happening now. And when you do that, yeah, it's tough at first because you're peeling back the Band-Aid, you're eliminating all the things that were between you and you, all those barriers that were between you and yourself. But then when you get to that place, it's like such not to be too woo-y, but it's such a place of nirvana because it's so accepting and it's reliable. You can
Yes.
rely on yourself. You don't have to worry about relying on other people. I don't rely on other people for validation. And so,
Yes.
yeah, so it's been quite a journey.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I could keep going and going, but I remember the thought when I found like my own integrity, which wasn't, I think I always kind of had like a natural integrity, but one sort of toxic situation that I left, it was, a different program that I was involved with for a long time. And it wasn't that the program or anything was toxic. It was that my mind wasn't good in that kind of environment.
Yes.
And I started getting these, like, just hesitations. Like I was deliberating on making decisions to do certain things with this group. And, I was just like, why am I so confused about what to do? Right. And so then
Yes.
I saw some of my old patterns and I'm like, this just isn't good for me. And like I applied that filter to it, like, does this feel loving and so are these things people loving and supportive of me? Right? No. Okay, then less time with them, right? And then
Right.
I realized that I was hung up on like the networking and stuff of it that was available in this specific group. And I'm like, once I let that go, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just felt this freedom and trust for myself. And it was
Yes.
like, I have my own integrity because I know what's good for me and what's not good for me, because I'm
Right.
the adult here, right? Like it was almost just like I became into my own adulthood about getting to decide about what I want to do, right? It's like nobody
Right.
makes us do anything here. Like we're so in
Right.
charge of our life, especially when we're like running corporations and have families and all this stuff, right? Like, oh, I'm the one that gets to decide what's best for me. You know what I mean? So like
Right.
that trust and integrity and like letting go of all the potential outcomes, bad outcomes that might have or happened if I went. I'm like,
Right.
oh, I am open to attract what's best for me too, because I'm not
Yeah.
caught up in that negative energy and putting myself in not great places. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense because when I started catching my thoughts, and I remember writing this down one day, I was writing down like how many times I was like fast forwarding to the future and, prescribing some terrible outcome to something.
Yes.
And, you can either, I think you may spend your time ruminating about the past, which some people do, or you may be a person like me that's always in the future, what's going to happen
Mhm.
next. And when I started writing it down, I was like, wow, that's where a lot of my anxiety comes from too, because I noticed that when I would have those thoughts, I would automatically kind of tense up and
Yeah.
start, thinking something negative. And then when you tense up and you have that negative feeling, now you want to escape from it.
Hmm.
So that was a really big revelation for me too, because it was like, okay, you've got to stop fast forwarding so much. And like we were talking about with the present equaling power,
Hmm.
this is where it all happens. Right here and right now is where it all happens. This is where you gain your power. This is where you start building trust. This is where you get to decide, what happens. You get to choose. Right here in the present is where all that happens. So,
Yeah. It's so good.
oh my gosh.
So proud of you. Anything
Thank
else you feel
you.
like they should know?
Um, I think the biggest thing is that, no matter where you are in your life, as long as you are breathing, you have a choice.
Mhm.
You have an opportunity. As long as you are conscious, as long as you're alive, you have an opportunity. You may be in something that's been feeling like shit for decades, because I was, but it's not too late. It really is not too late. You just start making those first steps. I heard a quote the other day about every 10,000-mile journey begins with one step. And, Oprah talks about that too, about just what's the next right thing to do. You just got to take one step forward and stay in the present and just take that first step. And it's really possible. I the dread, the fog, the cloud, the low level hum of depression that I had for so long. I mean, all that shit is just, it's just gone. It's just gone. So
So
if
good.
I can do it, anybody can do it.
That's what I say. Can you tell them a little bit about what it's like in the group coaching program? Like, tell them about your experience in that program.
Oh, it's like being hugged by like 600 women. I swear, because when I first, and I started talking about this a little bit earlier, when I first talked to you that January, and then I joined the program like 6 months later. When you said it was a group program, I remember thinking, oh, group, I don't want to join a group. I just need to talk to you once a week, dedicated hour, and that's what I need. But but when I tell you that the support that you get from this group, it's just incredible. And this was like the dedication I made in the book to Angela Mascenik and the OVIPs. The support that you get from this group it's phenomenal. This is a judgment-free zone. Women are coming on and talking in a safe space about, some really deep shit that's happening in their lives. And all you get is support. You get to learn from other people's experiences. You get a way to just kind of look at things differently, because sometimes we are so like just tunnel vision focused on how we have always done things. And sometimes it's hard to kind of let a little bit of light in from the other side, because, it's like, wow, I didn't think about it that way. But you get so much love and support and inspiration and guidance. And it's just, it's incredible. How long is I in the program? Two and a half years, I think.
2.5 years, yeah. And all different kind of variations of it, right? Like it's just you've been on retreats and
Yes, been on retreats, and I made some amazing friends from the program also. And just learning how to manage your mind. It is when you learn that and you have those tools, I mean, anything is possible. Anything is fucking possible.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that experience. And I'm so glad that you felt that way while you're in there. That's what I want it to feel like. I want it to feel like this very loving, supportive group. Because we know that judgment and shaming people doesn't help, and like having iron fist, that does not help. If it did, we wouldn't be here, right? Because that is available in other ways, right? I just don't think that that's super helpful. But what you said about like, I just want the private coaching, because I get that a lot. A lot of people say, I just want you. I just want private one-on-one coaching with you. And it's like, but then you only get my perspective. In the group, you get all the perspectives, right? You get to see and observe me coaching other people, and you're not in your own mind when that is happening. So you're just watching. And so you're actually more open to receive the advice, right? The perspective when it's not even you. So you can take the coaching that I'm giving to somebody else and apply it to your life and have just such different perspective, and know that you're not alone, right?
Right. That's a big part of it too.
I've already fixed my over drinking issue, right? But to have the group of all these women with the same goal is to stop over drinking and to start living part, which is what you really focused on too. And to share that, right? And you just feel like you're not alone. Like I went to I found this amazing non-alcoholic beverage shop in my town, like just like 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you saw me posting about it.
I did. I saw a couple of posts.
Yeah. So she had this like non-alcoholic meetup group that she had already formed. I'm like, I'll come. And I was like the special guest speaker. And I got to meet all these people.
Yes.
And we started all talking about what happened when we drink and our relationships and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, even I'm doing this work, like just knowing that there's other people out there, it's safe. It's like, you don't feel judged. Like sometimes when we're going through this shit, you don't want to tell your friend your drinking problems or your relationship problems or any of this stuff, right? Like, it's just like when you share it with people that get it, it just feels so different.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but.
No, totally. It is. It's like knowing that you're not alone, as you said, because, people are coming in from all different points in their lives. And then, and not only just about, how you're numbing or buffering, just guaranteed you're going to hear your story in somebody else.
Yeah.
Somebody else will have a similar experience. And knowing that, you're not alone, I think it also creates not only the safe space for you to share in the group, but I think when in your daily life, it starts to give you a little bit more um, courage and a little bit more power, because you know that it's not, that you're not alone, and you know that it's something that you can, you know, overcome. Other people have done it. Other people are doing it, the work in the program, and you just have this like cocoon of people around you that are just, you know, kind of rooting you on and cheering for you, and just there to support you in any way that they can. So that's always amazing.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. So good.
So this is incredible. You know, this Angela Mascenik is like, if you're listening and you're having any doubts, sign up. You will not regret it. It's been such an amazing experience. I don't know where I would be now if I hadn't started this work a couple of years ago. So
You did a lot of big
awesome.
things this year, Deidre. Remember when we climbed the mountain at sunrise?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there were so many firsts that I got to experience. Do you know how fun that is for me? Like, I got to experience so many of your firsts with you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I did a LinkedIn post about that too. We climbed the mountain in the dark. What time did we start? At 4 a.m. or
5
something? And it was
a.m. 5 a.m.
dark.
I had headlamps for everybody in the mountain.
Right, because I was going to stay in the cabin, and I was like, what could be worse, staying in the dark cabin by myself or climbing up the side of a mountain?
I mean, that is such like what is the word? Like perfect example of what this is. Do I stay in my safe little cave where
Right.
I know like there's 4 walls and a locked door, or do I go out of it with this group of women and like trust that that's going to be the best experience, right? And like, what did you experience? Like you got to see a sunrise on the side of a mountain.
It was phenomenal. It was just incredible. It's one of those experiences that when you kind of push yourself, then you know the next time that you've done it and you can go a little bit further. So we climbed up the mountain at 5 a.m. in the dark. I was scared about bears. We had the no bear dance.
We had a chant and a dance and all of it.
So an amazing view as the sun rose over the mountains. We went kayaking. My kayak flipped over and I don't know how to swim.
That wasn't really that moment, but I'm glad you're laughing.
It was part of the whole thing. It was just like, okay, this is testing you and you're going to come out with flying colors. And if you can do that, you know, then what else can you do?
Yeah. Like what other adventures can we go on? Right. It's just the beginning.
Right. It really is. It really is just the beginning. 2023 is going to be amazing.
What's your word of the year?
Limitless.
Woo! Love it.
Yes.
Mine's alive. I think you probably already know that, but
alive.
How can I be more alive than I already am? I don't even know, but we're gonna find out. It's gonna be super fun.
Find out. Yes. I want to watch that journey.
We'll be there. All right, Deidre, thank you so much. We will talk to you soon. Thanks for being on the podcast, and go follow her on LinkedIn. We'll link it all up in the show notes and buy her little book. It was amazing.
Thank you, Angela. I love you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. What do you think, y'all? Isn't Deidre amazing? Oh my gosh. Thank you again, Deidre. And remember, this is your final chance to get your application in to join the same program that Deidre did to stop over drinking and start living. Click through, submit your applications, and I'm standing by waiting to approve you and to get you in for our January 2nd kickoff. We have so many fun things planned. We've got a virtual shopping event planned at the local alcohol-free beverage shop here in my hometown of Chapel Hill. We're having a Healthy Habits Challenge all month in January to kickstart and to incorporate the healthy habits that you want to have that will last throughout the rest of the year, and so many other fun things. We are going all in to support you for the first 6 months of 2023. So if you are on the fence, this is your cue to go click apply now in that link, and I can't wait to welcome you inside the program. Have a beautiful new year, and we'll talk to you soon.